Welcome to Ric Rac Ruby. I'm Laura Cluvo. Today we will be making this charm square angel embellished with vintage lace. She's fun and easy, so let's get started. I'm working my way through this lot of vintage lace, and meanwhile this stack of charm squares has arrived, and of course I love all these bright Christmassy prints. But there are also some neutrals back here. So I thought, let's do a charm square angel ornament with these neutral colored fabrics, and then we can use some of this lace as well. I'm gonna go through, sometimes I need a pair of one print. So there'll be one in the center and then two on either side. So I'm gonna go through these and decide which ones that I want to use. This is called Christmas Stitched by Fig Tree and Company for Moda. I discovered that from the neutrals there were only two that had a pair. So I've chosen this for the center, and then I can use either this or this for the sides. This gingham I like because it's on the diagonal. That's kind of fun, but I think I'm gonna go with this so there'll be a little bit stronger contrast. You know, when I place this lace along here, it'll show up really nicely along the little bit darker colored fabric. So I'm going to sew these together on my sewing machine with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. One here, and one here, along here. And then I'll open them up and press the seam allowances open. Here's how the charm squares look right now. I've pressed the seam allowances open so they don't have too much bulk, and I've decided I want this to be the bottom. I've selected 3 different laces. These are just sort of varying widths. So this one will be on the bottom, and then this one will be next, and the smallest one will be here. This is my intention. I hope it works out. I'm not going to hem the edge at all. I think because the charm squares are created with a little pinked edge to prevent raveling, I want to take advantage of that and just make this a quick and easy design. So my intention is to start with this one. I'm going to put my machine on a narrow zigzag, and I'm going to stitch along here along this little header. And my intention is for the scallops here to be along the hem, and these single scallops to be below the edge like this. I'm not going to pin it. I'm not going to tape it or glue it. I'm just going to go slowly and kind of keep track of it. When I hit these seam allowances, I'll make sure that they're flat as I go, and I'm just going to zigzag along this header. It's not going to be perfect, but I think by the time we sew it together and gather it up, it'll look fine. There's my first row of lace, and then this one will be second. I'm going to place it directly above so that it's almost touching. I'm going to try to keep it straight and even. If you're a perfectionist, you could draw lines, you could hem this, you could press it. There are lots of ways to make this more perfect. And then finally, I'll add this smallest one at the top. Again, I'm just going to zigzag along the headers. Boom, boom, boom. I have all 3 rows of lace sewed on. Looks like this in the back. And now I will fold this over, right sides together, and stitch up this seam, which will be the back seam. There's my back seam, and I'll turn it right side out. And this is the dress. It's ready to go. But before we put the dress on, we have to make the body. This is a 25mm head bead. It's wood. It has a hole all the way through. And I have already created the face. And of course, you can find the instructions for the Ric Rac Ruby face in my Focus on Faces video. I also have this 6-inch tulle. It's on a spool. It's ivory colored. And I'm going to cut 2 lengths about 15 to 18 inches long. Doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to measure it. And then I'll fold this in half. It just has to be about as long as the dress, like that. These are 5-inch squares, so the dress is only 5 inches tall from here to here. A little more if you want to include the lace. Then I have this 1/16 inch ribbon, and I'll tie this off in the center. I think I have about a ½ yard of ribbon, about 18 inches, and I'll tie this off like this. And then I'll send the ends of the ribbon through the bead from the bottom. And I'll pull that on until the tool is right there at the top. I want the tool to fill the hole. Then I'll back it up a little bit and add some hot glue right here in the back. Just a little bit, just a smudge. Oops, well, I added a little more than a smudge, but it'll be fine. And then I'm gonna slide that on again, and I'm starting to feel it right here at the top. There's the knot, so that's just about right. And now I'll tie this off. Now I tend to like a long hanging loop. You don't have to make it this long if you don't want to. And trim the ends. So this will go inside the dress, and the tool will fill the dress like a petticoat. So we'll gather it up. I have a needle and thread. I'm using this quilting thread in a natural color, or like an off-white color. This is Coats & Clark hand quilting, and I have a nice long needle. I also like to use a thimble. I'm going to start at the back by folding the seam allowances to one side, and then I'll secure my knot right there. So that's nice and secure. Then I'm just going to do a little running stitch all the way around the top edge. These stitches are about 1/4 inch long, in and out, in and out. There's no secret to it. Try to keep it, you know, maybe about 1/4 inch down from the top edge, or even a little bit less if you can manage. And then I like to use my thimble to sort of press the needle through. Oh, here's a pro tip. All right, when I get to the seam right here, I would rather have the seam go down. So I'm going to take the stitch over the seam instead of under the seam like that. So that would make the seam pop out. I'd rather have it sink down. So I'm going to stitch over the seam like this. Hope that made sense. Okay, so now I'm going to pull this up tight. I'll put the angel body through the center, draw up the gathers. Now I want this center panel to be in the middle. I want these edges to be right up next to the bottom of the wood bead. Then I'll wrap a few times. I'm pulling tightly. I don't know if you can tell, but I am pulling rather tightly. I want this to be as narrow as I can possibly get it, because I'm going to add a gathered lace collar. And, you know, I don't want it just to be, I don't want it to get too large. There's my center back seam. I didn't quite line up those laces perfectly, but it's good enough. And now I will secure my thread in the back. I wrap and then I stitch through a couple of times, and then I'll secure in the back. Now I'll trim out this extra petticoat. I like a little bit showing, but not too much. And I've selected this lace to be the collar. This is also from my lot of vintage lace that I bought on my favorite Facebook group. Let's see. I think this is the right side. So I'll fold over one end, and then I'm going to catch it like this. It's a double strand of quilting thread again, and then I'll just gather up this entire piece through that little header of the lace, in and out, in and out. Doesn't have to be perfect. There we go. Now I'll place this around her neck. I will join the ends in the back. That looks good. Then I'm going to stitch through from the back to the front. And then back again. I'm sewing through to make sure that the collar stays up close to the chin, that it doesn't, you know, tend to slide down. And now I will secure this thread in the back. That looks good. Now we'll do the hair. I have my favorite loopy mohair yarn, and I'm going to hold the first end in these fingers and then wrap a figure 8, maybe let's do 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That seems about right. And then I'll wrap this around the center, a complete circle. Take the original end and tie it off in the center. There we go. That's my first bundle, and now I'll make another one the same exact way. Leave a nice tail, hold on to it, and wrap 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I'll pull this all the way around and tie it off with this other. If you want some clarification, I do have a video called Ruby's Hair Technique, and I believe this is included in the hair techniques. So I'm going to glue one of the bundles to the back of her head. I'll apply some glue to the back and just fill it in solidly like a penny. Or in this case, maybe a quarter, because it's a little bit bigger than a penny. Then I'm going to place the center of the bundle right in the middle behind the hanging loop. I'm being careful not to let my hanging loop get caught up in the glue. And I'm just pressing that into the glue in the back of the head very securely. I think I need a little bit more glue right here. That looks good. It's just covering the back of the head. And now for the front, I'm going to start by just adding some glue right here in front of the hanging loop, right there. And then I'll press the center of this bundle into that glue. And again, I'm making sure I keep this out of the way. Nice and secure. And then I'll add a line of glue right here. And then I'll twist and press this front bundle into the glue on the side of the head. There's the line of glue, and then I'll twist and press. And I'll repeat for this side. Line of glue, twist and press. I'm twisting toward the back, so both get twisted toward the back. I'm not sure, I hope I have enough glue on that side. I think I do. Great, let's have a look. That looks pretty good. Now we'll add the halo. I think I'm going to cut off about 2.5 inches. This is 20 gauge gold wire. It looks more like 3 inches. Then I use my thimble just to shape it, to get it into a circle. This is kind of a longer piece. It's a little big for the thimble, but it works. Then I'll add a drop of glue to each end. Then I'll press that into each side. There we go, there's her halo. Now to decorate, I like to have a little extra decoration on the front, and I have a couple of options. I think I'll do a ribbon bow first, and then I'll add some sort of a floral. I'm deciding between these and these. This is too yellow. This is actually a little bit yellow also, but that's okay. All right, so first I want to add some white florist tape. This is from the wedding department usually of the craft store. And then I'm just going to wrap this around here up very close to the flowers. And then I'll cut this off pretty close. And this is going to go right here, just beneath her chin. First, I'll tie a bow, just like you're tying a shoe, nothing fancy. There's my bow. I'll add a little bit of glue to the center, and I'll just press that into the collar, right into the lace below the chin. It doesn't have to be right up next to the chin because I want to have a little bit of room for the flowers. Then I'll add some glue to the stem and press that into the collar. Some of these came loose. This one came loose from the tape. So I'll just glue this one separately. There we go. The last thing she needs is her wings. I like to have just a tiny bit of color when I'm working with neutrals. And see how pretty that is? Just gives it a little bit of life. So I'll apply some glue right here, right up at the top. Then I'm going to press that into the back of her head. Don't put it too low. Try to center it. I try not to be a perfectionist about most things, but you definitely want the wings to be centered. And I'm going to say this design is done. Thank you for watching my tutorial. If you're enjoying my videos, please like, share, and subscribe.